Neil works for one of the intelligence agencies or branches within the U.S. government. And so therefore is a bit of a gatekeeper when it comes to certain information that Benedict needs in order to run a fair trial in prosecuting Mohamedou. And yeah, Neil is kind of proves to be a little less than helpful in that regard because of his own traumas and dealings based out of what he felt through 9/11 and everything that was causing him a lot of, fear and unfortunate anger and hate that I think a lot of people were possessed with in that time. When something as tragic as that happens, trauma can really screw people up. I'm representative of a lot of the fear in Americans specifically in that time. And I think that that's a very important part of the story, obviously. People don't just go and act ill, I don't believe. They're acting ill out of their fear, out of their anger. And that needed to be well represented, I think, in this film, and it is. And I think that Neil is our proxy for that. He gets to show that. But important to show the other side, that redemptive side at the end, because truth in this, as is threaded throughout the whole movie, particularly with Stuart Couch, there's a really, there's a battle going on. Like, how do you, this guy's supposed to be this 9/11 ringleader that, was responsible or partly responsible for killing thousands of innocent people, but it's the law. And everyone should have a fair or the fairest possible trial that we can give them. It doesn't matter what we think of them, our predisposed notions of them. That's the importance of the purity of if we can follow the law that purely. And I think that Stuart really honors that. And yeah, so Neil had to be a foil to that on some level. And then ultimately, I think, does respect what it is that Stuart is trying to do. When I read the script, it reminded me very much of the Mandela story of someone who was incarcerated for no reason and then finding love and forgiveness for their captor. And not just love and forgiveness, but actual grace, understanding that those people are just acting out of their fears. I mean, this is all mental health. It's all mental and emotional health. It's the most important thing we can be talking about right now. And movies like this and stories like Mandela's hopefully are inspiring people to understand that more and more. But, we're slowly but surely getting there, I think. Well, I think he clearly is a very talented man and has a tremendous passion to tell this story and tell it fairly and tell it right. On top of his, visual and aesthetic talents, working with Kevin Macdonald is a real treat. I mean, the guy is an artist visually, aesthetically, but also very much wants to tell a fair and true story about these people and about this saga. And I also appreciate that he knows what he wants, and he asks for it clearly and kindly. And these are very important things when working with directors who are the captain of the ship. They are ultimately the ones barking out the orders, saying, raise that sail and lift that anchor and all that jazz. It doesn't mean we don't need security forces or people that are, actively trying to thwart the plans of people who wish to do ill to other people. All of those things are very important, but we must not dehumanize one another through these processes. We must not look at another person as if they are an animal, as if they are somehow not the product of the society that they came up in, which is exactly what they are. All of us are. And if we can see one another that way, then through this judicial process, we hopefully might be able to stop dehumanizing our prisoners or even making them prisoners to begin with, depending on where along in that process they are. I think that we all need to be practicing more forgiveness and practicing empathy. And the great thing about empathy is that it's quite selfish too, because the more empathy you have, the less fear and anger you have and the more freedom you get to enjoy. So empathy is a beautiful thing, and I want that to be in every film, always.